Today's video is on Jack the Ripper, a thrilling tale about the most mysterious killer in history. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. About 96% of you aren't subscribed. Also, leave a like and comment future ideas. All right, imagine this. It's late at night in London. The year is 1888. The streets are dark, cold, and honestly, kind of miserable. You're walking through an area called Whitechapel. It's crowded, it's poor, and it's not exactly safe even during the day. Now imagine hearing that there's someone out there, not just a criminal, not just a random attacker, but someone who is specifically targeting people, and no one can catch him. That's where this story starts. This is the mystery of Jack the Ripper, and over 130 years later, we still don't know who he was. So let's go back to 1888 London. At the time was one of the biggest cities in the world, but it had a massive problem: poverty. And nowhere was that more obvious than in Whitechapel. People were struggling just to survive. Overcrowded housing, crime, disease, it was rough. And because of that, a lot of women in the area turned to sex work just to make enough money to get by. That's important, because the victims in this case all came from that same vulnerable group, which made them easier targets and, sadly, easier for society to ignore at first. The first widely recognized victim was a woman named Mary Ann Nichols. She was found in late August of 1888. And this is where things start to get disturbing, but I'll keep it PG-13. It was clear this wasn't just a random act of violence. There was a pattern, a level of precision. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. Then, just over a week later, another victim, Annie Chapman. Same area, similar circumstances. At this point, people started to realize this wasn't coincidence. This was a serial killer. But things escalated fast. September 30th, 1888. This date became known as part of what's often called the double event. 2 victims, one night. First, Elizabeth Stride. Then, not long after, Catherine Eddowes. Same night. Same general area. Think about that for a second. That means the killer was moving through the city, committing multiple crimes, and still managing to disappear without being caught. No cameras. Limited lighting, minimal forensic science. He was basically invisible. Then came the final commonly accepted victim, Mary Jane Kelly. And this case was different. It happened indoors, which made it even more shocking and confirmed just how bold the killer had become. By now, the entire city was on edge. People were scared to go out at night. Newspapers were going crazy with headlines. And this is actually where the name Jack the Ripper comes from. It wasn't given by the police. It came from a letter supposedly written by the killer himself sent to a news agency. Now, whether that letter was real or just someone messing with the press, we still don't know. But the name stuck, and honestly, it's part of why this case became so famous. So now you've got a terrified city, multiple victims, and a killer who seems to just vanish every time. Naturally, the police launched a massive investigation, but here's the problem. This was 1888, no DNA testing, no fingerprints database, no modern profiling. They were basically trying to solve one of the most complex types of crimes with tools that were incredibly limited. And on top of that, there were hundreds of suspects. Doctors, butchers, locals. even members of high society. At one point, people even suspected royalty. Yeah, like actual members of the royal family. That's how wild the theories got. Over the years, a few names have come up more than others. One of the most talked about suspects is Aaron Kosminski. He was a local man who lived in the area and was known to have mental health issues. Some records suggest police at the time strongly suspected him, but they never had enough evidence to prove it. Another name that pops up is H. Holmes. Yeah, the American serial killer. Some theories claim he might have been in London at the time, but most historians don't take that one too seriously. Still, it shows just how far people have gone trying to solve this. And that's really the core of the mystery. There's no confirmed identity, no definitive answer, just theories. Lots and lots of theories. But here's what makes this case different from most others. It's not just about the crimes. It's about the fact that they were never solved. Think about how rare that is today. With modern technology, it's incredibly hard for someone to commit multiple crimes like this and completely get away with it. But back then, it was possible. And in this case, it happened. And over time, the story of Jack the Ripper kind of turned into something bigger than the actual events. Books, movies, documentaries. People are still obsessed with this case. Not because of the violence, but because of the mystery. Because as humans, we hate unanswered questions. We want closure. We want to know who did it and why. And this case refuses to give us that. So here we are. More than a century later, still asking the same question people were asking. In 1888, who was Jack the Ripper? Was he someone hiding in plain sight? Was he caught for something else and never connected to these crimes? Or did he just disappear? And honestly, we might never know. And that's what makes this one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in history. So next time you hear the name Jack the Ripper, just remember, this wasn't just a story. This was real people, real fear, and a mystery